I'm waiting. I have an old computer. My old computer is very slow. Hey, we're live. We are. Look at that. We're live. Hey, it's Jim Valley. Should I do the thing? Do I have to, am I required by law to do the Jim Valley?
Thicker than a Snickers!
The effing King of Recovery?
Faster than a cat with whiskers!
Back. Because of the fans?
Each and every one of you!
The largest gathering of trailer park trash.
You all fat, neck-bearded, mouth-breathing trolls!
There it is. Technically, this is not Wrestling Observer Live because this won't be uploaded to the website. Excuse me for a second. I'm petting my cat. Sherman has decided to bite my legs. Well, good evening, Dragon John. Anyway, as I put in the description, my wife's working late. I got my chores done. I'm like, well, I always talk about I should do this just for fun sometime. So here I am, doing this just for fun sometime. And not to make light of the news today, the loss of Sika, perhaps best known now as the father of Roman Reigns, but the father of really this amazing Polynesian, Samoan, Tongan dynasty. It's nothing short of remarkable. And I guess I would have been about 10 when I first saw the Wild Samoans. I first saw them. Now they came, I guess, through Portland, but that must have been before I was watching. And that was before I was watching. So I never saw the Wild Samoans, or at least they never made an impression on me until I saw them in '79 on cable on the USA Network. Hang on just one second. I got to take a call. Hello?
Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for the dinner.
You're very welcome.
Oh, that's very sweet of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite places, too, for our favorite dishes, teriyaki chicken. Thank you so
You're
much.
very welcome. Well, you had kind of a rough day, so I figured you needed something. And also, I wanted to get it to you before you tried to make something. So that was the strategy, but you're very welcome.
I haven't felt like eating all day today, so that sounds very good.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, that's very sweet of you. I love you.
Well, we love you too. And if you don't feel like eating, you can always save it for later.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure I'll have some of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a weird day. We're sitting on the deck now. I've been so tired all day today. It's weird. I just could not. I couldn't stop. My nose could not stop bleeding this morning, and I was throwing up blood.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So finally, I told John, I said, you're going to have to call 911 because I can't drive. There's no way. So of course, they wouldn't take me to Kaiser, but they took me to a brand new, it's an ER place, which is not connected to the hospital directly.
All right.
Which is good because they took me immediately. So.
Well, why don't you go eat your food before it gets cold, and we'll debrief once you have a full belly.
Okay, thanks.
All right. We love you very much.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. It's my mother-in-law. Sorry about that. She woke up this morning, had some bloody noses, and so they took her to a local medical facility. So she's fine. She had kind of a rough morning, but we sent her a little grub-up food so she would eat. So she was calling to thank me, but no big deal. Anyway, let's get back to some wrestling. Did Tia and Tapu come through Portland? Yes, they did. They did come through Portland. They were there for quite a while. I want to say like 1982. But Alpha and Sika, I remember them when we first got the USA Network. Someone wrote Body Slam was my first intro to the Wild Samoans. It's true. Body Slam, such a funny movie. In both ways. Funny, ha, and funny. Anyway, Alpha and Sika. They were, fearsome and scary. And they played, you know, for lack of a better term, the role they played were these savages, that ate raw fish and, didn't care about anyone's health or livelihood. They were ready to just destroy and run through everybody. And of course, being it 1979, they still had all of the tropes because they're Samoan. You've got to have the hard heads and the big headbutt. They had the big, huge afros and the tights that only went down to their shins, and they wrestled barefoot. Honestly, Lou Albano was probably a bigger slob and more uncouth than the Wild Samoans were when you look back. Someone says Body Slam was better than Ready to Rumble. Anything was better than Ready to Rumble. Somebody says, first saw the Wild Samoans in the Aftermags, but I saw Peter Maivia in the AWA as a kid. He was super exciting. I didn't see much of Peter Maivia. Saw him a little bit again on WWF TV. And cable TV was so random back in the day. There'd be a movie. There'd be a concert. Oh, there's wrestling. And you'd never know, I swear, as a kid, when things would show up and what they were. From when it was just this Wild West of programming. You never knew for sure what was coming down the fire hose of cable TV. So the Wild Samoans were just this force of nature. And what's amazing is it all really started as a fluke. They were wrestling fans in San Francisco in the very late 60s, early 70s, cheering Peter Maivia. And there's a large Polynesian population in San Francisco. So the booker, George Shire, had to be very careful when booking Peter Maivia when he lost or how he lost, because the audience did not like that. And when Peter Maivia lost or something that the audience didn't like, the wrestlers would have to fight the audience, literally fight for real, punch and kick the audience to get back to the dressing room. And the two toughest guys, for real, this is not a story, this is not a legend, this is for real. The two toughest guys were Alpha and Sika. So finally, they just had to smarten them up, as they say. And they took them out and they trained them and they made them wrestlers. And I believe Calgary was their first real territory. But they had to smarten them up and get them the hell out of Dodge because they were so tough to fight. I mean, stereotypically, they always say that they're the toughest. But imagine you're the toughest of the toughest. So just by pure survival, the wrestlers taught Alpha and Sika about the work. And the wrestlers, Peter Maivia trained Alpha and Sika and sent them on their way out of pure necessity. And that fluke moment led, the domino fell and led to what we have today. It's amazing. It's, sometimes you plan things in life and you study hard or you work hard and you have this goal that you're working toward to do. And sometimes it's just a fluke. And this, one of the greatest flukes in wrestling history. And from Alpha and Sika, you've got the Fatu family. You've got this whole, Samoan dynasty cousins, family that are just family, not exactly related, but they are in their hearts. There's a whole connection with all of them. But I mean, from there, you've got Alpha and Sika who didn't speak, who were pure savage characters. And then from there, you had the Samoan SWAT team, the head shrinkers, which led to, Make a Difference Fatu, which then led to Rikishi. And by that generation, no longer were the Samoans these jungle savages who ate raw food and couldn't speak. Now they could articulate and they were people. Yes, they had a mean streak. You had Umaga, who came along and was this hybrid of the savage in the ring, but a person with language and dress and family and things outside the ring. He could articulate. You just didn't want to make him angry. And it's just remarkable how things changed. Even, for example, we just saw the debut, a SmackDown finally, of Jacob Fatu, the son of the Tonga Kid. And again, Jimmy Snuka. Jimmy Snuka would go back and forth. He didn't start in Portland, but Portland, he was there for years and years and years. And in Portland, he was a baby face. And Jimmy Snuka could speak. Not the most articulate guy in the world, a very simple guy. Not saying he's stupid, just saying very simple guy, very, very plain-spoken gentleman. And I mean, and I'm not talking about the murderers. We're not talking about that today. We're talking about this family and their legacy and the positives today. But Jimmy Snuka, when he was a baby face, would speak. Hey, brother, come out, support me, brother. We're going to get you, Buddy Rose. Brother, he didn't do a lot of the talking, but he would talk. But Jimmy Snuka was a heel. He was a savage. He was a monster who couldn't be controlled. Babyface could talk. Now later, in the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, in the Hulk Hogan era, Jimmy Snuka, they limited his speaking. Probably for marketing reasons. But anyway, but the point being is that Jimmy Snuka, the character, would vacillate. Heel, no talking. Babyface, articulate. And it's just fascinating how we went over just a generation or two from the Wild Samoans to the Bloodline. And think about the Usos. Again, Jey Uso, to fans growing up, he's like family now. They're people who their entire lives have watched WWE, and Jey Uso has always been there. That's right. Someone did mention, often said you got territory promos in some territories, but it was by and large rare. Mid-South, Ernie Ladd was their manager, or Sonny King in Georgia, or whomever. And it was very funny. In 1983, they're the Georgia National Tag Team Champions. And I can say this because they're not on the radio. But Georgia was a shit show. Georgia was on national TV. A lot of people wanted to come in, get on that TV, become a big star, but then get the hell out of Dodge. Get back to Florida or Mid-Atlantic or wherever. Get the exposure. But Georgia itself was a shit show. And they left and went back to WWE. Didn't even drop the titles. And I'm not saying I blame them. Vince McMahon Sr. was very good to them. I'm sure they made more money. I'm sure it was better organized, better for their career, better for everything. However, on TV, Ole Anderson was cutting promos on Georgia TV saying, Alpha and Sika just left because the competition was too tough for them. They ran scared of, Mass Superstar, whoever, King Kong Bundy, or whomever it was at the time. And he goes, I don't know where they went, but I know the wrestling can't be very good. And the competition isn't as good as it is here. That's just kind of the way it was. Some mentions CV Offee was a flop. Boy, oh boy. You saw him in WWE. I saw him in Portland. When Jimmy Snuka left, they brought him in and they called him, Don Owen introduced him as CV Offee. And then, or Siva Offee, one of the two. I don't recall, but he introduced him as his real name. And then he goes, in honor of Jimmy Snuka, we're going to call him Jimmy Offee. And I don't know. It's like he just maybe hated, he never really had much charisma. I just don't know why. Yeah, I'm talking, Brian said that Jacob Fatu, one of the greatest debuts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, the Samoan Gangsta Party in ECW. But we were talking about the Tonga Kid, Jimmy Snuka. I got derailed. So Jimmy Snuka, they do the coconut angle. I don't have to tell you about that with Roddy Piper. Very, very famous. And they're off to the races. Big deal. Huge box office. And Snuka, he's a mess. So they bring in Tonga Kid to replace Jimmy Snuka in the feud. And it's doing good business. Fans have accepted the Tonga Kid as the de facto Jimmy Snuka, at least in his feud with Roddy Piper. I don't know if it could have worked for how long, but it worked for at least one Madison Square Garden main event. And I don't know, but for the longest time, Tonga Kid was the youngest kid literally. He was like 18. Youngest kid ever to main event a Madison Square Garden WWF card. I don't know if that's changed. I don't think Randy Orton was old enough. I don't think. But it's possible it's changed. I don't know. But for the longest time, Tonga Kid couldn't do it. And he messed up. Yeah. Jacob is Tonga Kid's son, is what I said. Yeah. But it's just fascinating. And I'm sure at times things were kind of lean with the Anua'i family. I mean, they trained people and things, but I imagined, there was times when things were a little lean. And now it's great. Gold plates for everybody. Good for them. It's an amazing story. It really is. I mean, and I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm not. But you look at, when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, every article was, so-and-so is going to lead the 80s or the 90s or every decade. They always have these articles. Bruno Sammartino Jr., Angelo Mosca Jr., Blackjack Mulligan Jr., all of these people. And look, Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt. You never know where it's going to come from. A lot of times people, for some reason, always pick the progeny of major stars. And I can't explain why major star kids sometimes don't make it, sometimes they do. Randy Orton, his grandfather was a major star. His dad was a major star. Others, though, you can't quite figure out why. Someone says, hopefully SmackDown will be like a tribute show for Sika. I would imagine it will be. I can't imagine that it won't be. I mean, come on. You've got so many people on that roster who were trained by, related to, knew dearly that family. And you talk about, that family was in Pensacola for a while. Tonga Kid was part of the Rat Patrol with, was it Steve Armstrong and Johnny Rich. Um, there's tons and tons and tons. It's a remarkable story. It's a great story, and I'm glad that it's had a happy ending. And we're all gonna pass away. 79. That's a pretty good run. It's not a lot of people living into their 80s, 90s these days, but that's a pretty good run. And he got to see his son succeed at the highest and highest of levels. I know was it WrestleMania 31 where Seth Rollins cashed in Money in the Bank, and I think at the time, Sika was under the impression that his son was going to win that WrestleMania, and he didn't. And I think Sika, as legend goes, was very upset at the time. And obviously, he was placated. You live to fight another day. And Roman Reigns, indeed, saw many, many other days that you can be proud of. And they rode the waves, whatever life gave them. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Not unlike, the Rock's family. Things were lean. At times, I just tell you about the famous $7 story. And now, they're doing amazing. More money than God. So it's a remarkable story. And you wonder, going forward, it's easy to say, oh, it could be Roman Reigns' son, assuming they want to be a wrestler or even care about being a wrestler. But you wonder, is it going to be someone who you'd never pick, who you'd never guess could come out of nowhere and have an incredible legacy? But it's remarkable that it all came from a fluke. But really, before the Road Warriors, the Samoans were that awesome team, that devastating team, that irresistible force, an immovable object. And, you could put them in the best teams of the 70s. You could put them in the best teams of the 80s. But really their peak is sort of that 79, 82, 83, right in there. They'd hit their peak by the time the national expansion came along. They lost the tag team titles to Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas. And that was kind of their real swan song as a major main event act. They were still featured a bit, but they didn't win as much. And then Alpha left, Sika stayed on, and was sort of a low-level monster heel. I know he had a Saturday night's main event. He lost to Hulk Hogan. Things like that. He was sort of a setup guy for Kamala and things like that. And that was fine. He'd been around a very long time. People had seen the act and gotten used to the act. So it's something. But, it's very sad that he passed away. But 79 is a great run, and it's a great legacy. And I feel bad for his family. I'm sure his family is sad, but he'd been ill for quite some time. But I mean, we all go, and not all of us are going to have this legacy, and not all of us will live to see this legacy. I just was at a wake, a memorial for a friend of mine who died at 65, and she wanted to hang on. She died of cancer, and she wanted to hang on until her grandkids were 4 years old, so they'd remember her. But he's got grandkids that will remember him, and an industry that will remember him. So it's I think, a very happy ending. Even though it's sad that he's gone, I'm sad for his relatives and his family. I mean, it's an American dream. And it all started because wrestlers in San Francisco didn't want to fight them to the back. Absolutely, absolutely remarkable. You have any thoughts on Alpha and Sika or any of that growing up? But they were, I remember people at school who got cable. Did you see the Wild Samoans? Did you see the Samoans? What about off in Sika? And they were amazing. They seemed unbeatable at the time. Same thing, they went to Mid-South and all over. And they were impressive everywhere they went. But what an incredible legacy for his kids and cousins and other family members. It's just tremendous. You love to see people succeed. You know, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's great. I wonder if they'll break kayfabe and have Roman Reigns appear, even though they're saving an appearance. Maybe even bring him on stage as Joe on Hawaii, not Roman Reigns. Then have him make an appearance, say nice things about his dad, and then I think people would understand that is separate from. Yeah, that's true. The sad part is he did have to bury Rosie. That is sad. Yeah. Rosie, that's sad. Yeah, that was very sad. Umaga, and Maga as well. Yeah. But what a legacy. What a legacy. I mean, there's gonna be bad. There's gonna be sadness. There's gonna be everything, but I don't know. Well, we shall see. But it's just amazing. The number of people who have been successful when you think about it. Just to go from Wild Samoans, and I'm so glad that we've moved forward where you're not a savage, you're not eating raw fish, and you don't necessarily have a hard head, and you don't, you speak English, you're an American citizen, and you're not a savage. But they played that role brilliantly. Their presence is amazing. I saw on YouTube, you can find it, their first appearance in WWF at the TV taping. Obviously, it's in Allentown where they always taped back then. And they come in and they destroy somebody. They destroy the team. And they've got great teamwork. And they're impressive. And it's just great. Anyway, hey, I know I've been pushing it, but I loved the show that I did 2 weeks ago with Mark Flitman, the producer of the WWF Raw and Royal Rumble games for the 16-bit era and the Sega CD. I loved that interview. It was so funny. I watched that show Collector's Call on MeTV, and it's these people have these collections. It could be movie memorabilia, movie costumes, could be Star Wars or Barbie, or it's anything. And a lot of these people have very impressive collections. And at the end of the show, one of the person they bring in to assess the value of the collection brings in an item, and they try to trade for someone in their collection. And so I was watching the show. It was on video games. I was like, oh, I gotta watch the video games. Love video games. Oh, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate that. Mark says, I'm off the chart with interviews. Thank you. I think I'm a good interview. And you know what the secret is? You listen. Seriously. You listen. It's not that hard. But people are preparing a question in their mind and not listening. It's like, just listen. Anyway, so I saw this guy, Mark Flitman, and in the back on his wall was a poster for Royal Rumble for the NES and Genesis. And I'm like, I'm going to talk to that guy. So I looked him up, and Scott Fishman was a good interview. I got to have Scott Fishman on again. He's a great guy. Sign up for his belt. Not enough people are signing up for the raffle. So sign up for the raffle. Anyway. So we interviewed Mark, and I loved it. I loved it for a couple of reasons. One, nobody else has had it, which I couldn't believe. In this day and age of vlogging and so much content, I was like, nobody had him. So I was really happy about that. So go back and listen to it if you haven't, because that guy's a wrestling fan, which I didn't know because I didn't have the book ahead of time. Well, I got a copy of his book. And oh my gosh, look at this book. This book is amazing. If you're a 90s kid, this book is your freaking childhood. Tiny Toons and Muppet Babies and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Simpsons, Spider-Man, Maximum Carnage, which was a big game. So much stuff. And I also got the bonus book. So if you get the bonus book, it's got like an extra 65-page booklet. And it's got a ton, so I can show you here. It's got a ton of like schematic. There's Royal Rumble. There's wrestling. This is where they shot the commercials for the WWF Raw game. And it's like they laid out where they were going to do the shots. So that's the map of like the warehouse district they were in. Crazy. Here's the autographs he got. So he loves like old school wrestling. I don't think he likes wrestling so much anymore. I think he feels it's gotten too mature. But he loves this era and earlier years. He was a fan, as he mentioned, growing up in the AWA. But now that I've read his book, or I'm reading his book, I've got a whole new set of questions to ask. There's just a ton of stuff. Oh my gosh. Anyway, also, it comes with 2 pins, if you like pins. A little chip there and an arcade machine. So this is not all fun and games. But the guy's fascinating. And again, talk about a fluke. He started out doing part-time work as a game tester. And that's what led him to be a producer. Amazing. Anyway, I loved those interviews if you haven't heard them. Also, last week with Bradley Craig, I thought was very good. He talks about when we had Bradley Craig on the first time, when we talked all things Scottish a couple of weeks ago, I knew Drew McIntyre was going in to the Hall of Fame. But being it's WWE, you don't want to affect anything or hurt anything, or you don't want to cause any damage. So we didn't talk about that. We kept that secret because they wanted to keep it secret. So we obeyed their wishes and didn't talk about it. But I was aware it was happening. So once it was done last week, we talked about how it came to be, how they put it together, and various things, and how we put together the Scottish Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's really smart. A building is going to cost money. And even WWE, I think, for Hall of Fame, even if you put in Orlando, I remember going to Orlando and they had an NBA cafe, National Basketball, NBA basketball. That place was empty all the time. You ever want to go get food? Go to the NBA cafe. Decent enough food. Lots of TVs to watch. It was sort of like a sports bar. But it was always empty. So it was, we're busy. Oh gosh, this park's packed. Are you hungry? Yeah, we can go eat. We can go eat right now at the NBA cafe. Because it was always empty. Because as popular as the NBA is, it's just not strong enough for a cafe. That's just life. Anyway, WWE, for as big as it is, and I'm not discrediting it, I don't think it could pay for a Hall of Fame, no problem. But it would probably be a break-even proposition at best. And they should still do it, don't get me wrong. They should still do it. But you're not going to make money on it. But Bradley Craig is smart enough. He knew that. And what he did was put up plaques on historic buildings associated with famous Scottish wrestlers. Genius. Anyway, go back and listen. Talks about the Drew McIntyre, all of that stuff, and his thoughts on the end of Clash at the Castle, and all of that, if he thinks it will affect business and things. Bradley Craig is a really, really smart guy, and we'll get him back on and talk about his real passion. And his real passion is WCW in the early 90s. Oh, he was a little stinger. And when WCW would come over to like Europe, when it was big in Europe, that's when he loved it, because he was like 6 or something. So one of these days we'll get him on and talk about that. He's talk about collector's call. We'll get him on video and show his freaking WCW collection. He's got some rare stuff. And you think about WCW merch, there's not, back then, their merchandise sucked. So the fact he has any is amazing. But what was this, something else? Yeah, Scott Fishman is a really nice guy. I have met, and I've said this a million times, I've met the nicest people through wrestling. And there are times when I think of Vince McMahon and it gets me down. And I've talked about that. We don't need to rehash that. But I'll tell you what. Then I think about Scott Fishman. Scott and his wife, they're the cutest couple. You see them and you just want to pinch the cheeks on their face because they're so cute. They're adorable. And they're the sweetest couple. They're so nice. My wife and I went to Florida, was it last year? 2 nights. We went out to dinner with the Fishmans because we like them so much. It's like, we got to do this again. We love spending time with them. The Fishmans are nice. Bradley Craig is super nice. I could go on and on. All the people in this chat, you're super nice. I have met the best people through wrestling, and I need to focus on the positive. Hey, speaking of positive, WWE ratings juggernaut. We all know this. SmackDown did another great rating, and I imagine, and I don't mean this in a negative way. I imagine that the debut of Jacob Fatu last week and the passing of Sika will probably help a rating because people tune in and see all of that, and they should. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not being morbid about it. I think it's a good thing to pay tribute to the family. But everyone has talked ad nauseum about the 500,000 who watched Dynamite, and Saturday night's episode of AEW Collision did, in the demo, it was like number 1 in the demo, the highest rated non-sports show on cable, trailing only the College Baseball World Series and Copa American soccer coverage on 2 different stations. We're talking in the demo, not overall rated, because the number of viewers doesn't matter. You want to know why? Because you don't sell that. I'm 55. What I want isn't the same thing as someone who's 24. What they're buying and what I'm buying are 2 different things. You want that 25, 18 to 34-year-old. I have a bunch of stuff. I don't need too much more stuff. Also, I'm super jaded. I just think, exactly. Well, welcome 10 years. By the way, I think this July marks 5 years total of me at the Observer. Granted, I was gone for a year because I was sick, or a year or so because I was sick, but it was still 2019 when I signed up. So anyway, I read today something that pissed me off. So I was on, I'm not going to mention names because I like this show, okay? I like these people. Thank you very much, Tony. I appreciate that. I like these people, okay? Just because I disagree with them and I'm attacking this opinion and this idea, I am not attacking the person, okay? The people are fine. Somebody said, oh, we got to get rid of Tony Khan as Booker. not an uncommon thing. If I had a dime for every time I'd heard that, I'd be a billionaire. Fine. You don't like Tony Khan. As Bobby Brown said, give me more cocaine. No, it's my prerogative. That's what he said. The other thing he said privately, it's my prerogative. It's their prerogative. They can like whatever. Okay? You don't like it, that's fine. I don't believe that they watch the shows. That's another thing. But anyway, this person said they want to see Jeff Jarrett book AEW. Excuse me? Pardon me? Wait, can you speak up? Let me read. Someone was like, oh, Jeff Jarrett needs to book. Now, let me say, when Jeff Jarrett first showed up in AEW, I was not on board. He has won me over as a performer. He has put together some great performances in the ring, on the mic, and obviously everyone right now is raving about his Owen Hart, emotionally charged Owen Hart Foundation tournament promo. The 10-minute version, brilliant. Incredible performances. He has been extraordinary as a performer. No question. He's been one of my favorite parts of watching AEW. I do not take that away from him. Here it comes. But, however, there is no evidence that Jeff Jarrett is a good booker. None. Look at TNA. You know, I listen sometimes, occasionally, to his show with Conrad, and Jeff Jarrett sounds like a very nice man. He's very well spoken. He sounds very friendly, very reasonable, very measured. And then I look back at that product. They should call that show What the Fuck with Jeff Jarrett. Hey, Jeff, why was this so stupid? Hey, Jeff, why was that so stupid? Hey, Jeff, why is a reverse battle royal a good idea? Hey, Jeff, why was this stupid? And that stupid? And this? Hey, Jeff, when Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle drew your largest buy rate at 50,000 buys with a realistic build, why did you go back to Crash TV right after that? And why did you stick with it when your buy rates and ratings plummeted? Why so stupid? That's what I want to know. Because when you see Jeff Jarrett, he does great performances. There's this dichotomy that confuses me. How can he be so good and so terrible at the same time? I remember he gave us walk-in brawls in the 2000s when we were walking brawled out. We'd had plenty of walk-in brawls. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I agree. Jeff Jarrett is part of the strong veteran Renaissance era. Dustin Rhodes, Sting, Ricky Morton. I agree with that. I agree with that. Is that Bradley Craig? I was just praising you, Bradley. Just telling people to listen to your show. See how smart Bradley Craig is? Look at that. He's right. But I don't know why. And look, you can talk about AEW's attendance. I went to a TNA show in the 2000s, 2010. There, I don't remember the exact year. I'd have to look it up. TNA, Kent, Washington. Let's take a look. TNA Wrestling, Kent, Washington. It was 2011 in Kent, Washington. I was there. There were less than 2,000 people in the building. Better ratings, more eyeballs than AEW. Fewer people in the building. AEW just ran Everett, Washington, a similar market in the same Seattle-Tacoma metro, just farther north. They had twice as many people with fewer eyeballs on their TV. And AEW gets double the pay-per-view buy rates of TNA's highest number. And you put Jeff Jarrett in there? And I just asked this person, where's your evidence? He got all defensive. I think because he was expecting a big retro hug box. Oh, it's something old. He goes, oh, I want to see Memphis on a Memphis style promotion. Okay. It's not your money. That's easy to say. Where is the evidence? Where are the metrics that you can show me? There's proof that a Memphis style promotion, whatever that means, would work. Are you going to pour flour on people's heads? Are you going to get a sitcom TV star to come in and be a bad guy? Who's the guy that's going to be Jerry Lawler that's going to win each and every week? What exactly do you mean? Do you mean a promo-based company? Well, we have that. It's called WWE. And look at the history of wrestling. The history of wrestling is filled with failed companies that tried to out WWE. It can't be done. Thanks, BJ. Always a pleasure to see you. It's just, I don't dislike Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett has won me over as a performer. And look, he seems like a nice man on his podcast. I just haven't seen evidence that he could book. I haven't seen evidence. And look, here's the other thing. All of these people talking are like my age. And look, I try to stay in touch with pop culture, but it is virtually impossible now. Everything is so siloed. You can't keep up on all the, it's impossible. I mean, I can, Cume Trevor, I can look through X Twitter and look at trends and see those type of things, but it's still impossible. I'm not in anything. I'm not going to the club. I'm not, downloading the latest music, anything, I'm not there. The point is that an old product is for old people. I told this person, why not just bring back Atari? Atari's sort of got its own little space in the retro, small, one-screen gaming world. They've put out some good products in that world. But they're not going to compete with Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft. Rockstar has nothing to worry about. Why not bring back music videos on MTV? I said, its time has passed. You got to do something new, something that reflects society today. And I couldn't say for sure what that is. But I do know it does need to reflect society today. But it's so funny how everybody who wants whatever wrestling, whatever needs to be done, whatever the fix is, it's always the wrestling they like. It's always the wrestling they want. It's so fun. It's like with God. God is always saying the things that people want to hear. The people who are in touch with God, God's telling them to do the stuff they want to do. It's remarkable. Amazing. It's a miracle. Praise Jesus. The wrestling I want is the solution to wrestling's problems. And look, I don't think these people even watch AEW. I think they listen to podcasts and read Twitter, X Twitter, and get these ideas in their head. Because I've seen it. Very nice people. Oh, I wouldn't want to watch AEW because I heard what so-and-so said. And look, I'm not making fun of these shows. Some of these shows are very good. Go and listen to the shows. It's fine. I don't care. But Bradley Craig says, if fans of an old-time product, we actually living in a great era to access the product due to YouTube and other means offering us access to loads of vintage wrestling. Yeah, that's true. It's a golden age of fans for the older product. And you know what? There are also products that are, I don't call them older, but a more traditional based product. I say it all the time. It's not English, but All Japan is a very traditional, easy to follow product. It's very easy. I don't know. Tony says, I do think WWE has it figured out within regards to having a president CEO doing that job and a CEO, a booker doing that job. Tony is very busy, but there are people who are supposed to help him. I don't understand. Look, he seems like a nice guy. You know, definitely very smart, very good with numbers. He's got that, he's very smart with numbers and analytics. And I have no doubt that regardless of the booking, whether you agree with it or not, I'm sure that he's got analytical reasons for everything. I'm sure it does some things by feeling as well. You gotta have some feeling. But yeah, he does seem very busy to me. I don't understand why. Wrestling's a full-time job. Soccer/football is a full-time job. American football is a full-time job. His analytics business is a full-time job. He's got I get that he loves wrestling. And look, I'm glad we have an option. And I'm glad talent has an option. I'm glad there's no longer a monopoly. But does he even have time to enjoy what he's built? I think he has a girlfriend. I'm pretty sure he has a girlfriend. I don't know much about it, but it's like, does he have time to spend time with his girlfriend? Does he have time to go and, does he like hobbies? Does he have hobbies? Does he, because of my sickness, it's forced me on the sidelines. I'm medically retired. I'm not happy about it, but I've learned to live with it. And I look back now and I wasted a lot of time working. I'm not saying don't be productive, of course. We all need to be productive and contribute to society. That's drilled into our head. But it seems like he does a lot. Tony Khan, Bradley Craig says, has studied a lot of styles and is definitely creative. He needs to learn about burnout. Yeah. The thing is I don't know how much is Tony Khan, how much is what's his face? Jimmy Jacobs. How much is that female writer? I can't remember the woman's name. Forgive me. The woman who worked in WWE. No disrespect to her. I just can't remember her name. Nothing but respect to her. I don't mean to sound flippant. Please forgive me. Anyway, she's accomplished a lot, so I'm not trying to peg her. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But all of these other people have worked. Thank you, Jennifer Pepperman. Thank you very much, Dragon John. Jennifer Pepperman. No disrespect to Ms. Pepperman. Nothing but respect. Anyway, I don't know how much they contribute. At the end of the day, it's him. But I don't know how much he's doing. But obviously still overseeing everything. That's a lot. And I don't know. I don't know where his heart. Does he love football? FC? Does he love the Jaguar? I don't know. He loves wrestling. We know that. But I just don't know how much he's doing with his staff. It's hard to say. things got locked down to very secretive. After things sort of went to shit with Phil Brooks. So it's hard to say. But I don't know. I don't think he's as bad as people say. I watch the shows, and I'm not saying they're the greatest shows ever. But also, I've watched a shit ton of wrestling in my life. I'm 55 years old, and I've watched damn near 50 years of wrestling. So it's like, I've seen every angle. I mean, I can sit there and go, yeah, that's a cool angle. That's compelling. But, to quote Jerry Maguire, I've seen the puppet show. I've been to the puppet show and I've seen the strings. I like wrestling. I like, I was disappointed, in Collision with Okada and Guerrero. I was very disappointed. But at the same time, it was cool that he was even there. The whole Forbidden Door thing, I love it. But I get that because of the monopoly for years and years, that there's generations of fans who you've got to have a video package and you've got to show me who this person is and what character he is and what his motivation. You can't just have someone appear, like there used to be in the days of Nitro. I always thought that was super cool. I loved it even before Nitro, when Jushin Liger was feuding with Brian Pillman, or the Great Muta came in, or whomever. Whenever Fujinami came to Portland, did you know that? Did you know? True story. Tatsumi Fujinami held this belt, not this physical belt, but the Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Championship. Fujinami, one of the biggest legends of all time, came and wrestled in the shitty Portland Sports Arena. And he was a legend then. He wasn't a young boy. He was Fujinami, the IWGP champion and the Northwest champion. Just because he wanted to. Those kind of things are super cool to me. I like that. I like, not necessarily someone, I just like guest stars, I guess you put it. It doesn't have to lead to something amazing. It doesn't have to lead to a showdown. I just like a guest star comes in, you see them do their thing a couple of times, even if it's pointless matches. I like the guest stars. I just think that's kind of cool. I like the idea that there's a big wrestling world out there, as opposed to WWE is the world. And unless you're in this biosphere, you don't matter. I like the big and guest stars that come in. I think that's cool. But maybe that's just me. There's a generation who's been trained differently. And that's fascinating. As a lot of people today are complaining about the angle on Raw with Liv Morgan sending nudes to Dom Mysterio and Dom showing them to his buddies in the Judgment Day. As you all know, or you should know, read the lawsuit. In the Janelle Grant lawsuit, one of her allegations is that Vince McMahon showed everybody her private nude pictures in various poses and phases of undress, doing various things. And a lot of people believe that that's to soften the blow for the lawsuit. I don't know that yet. I can see their point. WWE has done that. You can never put anything past WWE. Let me say that first. Never put anything past them. Okay? However, maybe I'm being too nice. I'm not prepared to say that yet. Now, Vince McMahon claims in his lawsuit, or in his counter, whatever, his claim, that she was in love with him. And these were things that a romantic couple did. Now, if you want to believe people can love Vince McMahon, you go right ahead. However, if the storyline goes that Dom and Liv are in love, and this is part of a loving, secret relationship, then absolutely it is. Absolutely. Right now, I'm being too nice, giving the benefit of the doubt. I recognize I probably shouldn't. I will probably be burned. But let the record show I'm not jumping to conclusions. But I can see the point. I'm trying to be nice, be fair, and I'm probably being too nice. What do you think? It does seem very close. Triple H did learn everything he knows from Vince McMahon. He did. I don't know. Maybe not. Like I said, I'm not ready to make. I'll wait and see where this story goes. If this story keeps paralleling, I should say, Vince and Janelle Grant, then absolutely. But if it doesn't, give it the benefit of the doubt. But the Wild Samoans, what an incredible legacy. I mean, you just never know. I mean, what if Joe Hawaii had been more successful at football? What if the wrestlers decided not to smart up Alpha and Sika? There's so many what ifs. It's just remarkable. But what an incredible legacy. You don't have to, it goes without saying that people of color have had their struggles in this country. I don't have to tell you that. You know that. And it's cool. And look, wrestling has been racist and been bad. I'm not saying wrestling is progressive. I'm not saying anything like that. Wrestling has its skeletons. But I'm just saying it's good that we're seeing people of color and all walks of life succeed in wrestling. And it reflects the audience. I got into wrestling because primarily, I watched it a little bit. My dad died when I was very young. And I remember Andre the Giant being on the $6 Million Man. And Andre and Portland wrestling people would talk a little bit about Portland wrestling. And I'd see a little bit of Portland wrestling. But I really got into it because my stepdad, who was from Mexico, he's a Mexican, he watched wrestling. And I'd go to wrestling with him and his friends from Mexico. So you'd have this group of Mexicans and this little white kid, this little gringo with them. And it's always amazing. When I don't speak Spanish the best, I'm not very confident in it, but it's like I grew up around so much Mexican culture. People are always amazed. And I don't think I'm Mexican or anything like that. I'm just familiar with it. That's all I'm saying. But it's just funny. This little white boy hanging around, watching all the wrestling, all the luchas with, all the Mexicans, which is cool. It was great. It was a great background to see, people who were different from me and learning about things. It was great. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of great friends and relatives and stuff. It was a lot of fun. But that's how I got into wrestling. And you like to see more people of color succeed, and that's great. And Samoans are just, yeah, wrestling it's a universal language. Everyone can understand it. Even AEW. That's what drives me crazy. Because wrestling is a universal language. It's very broad strokes. It's very broad morality plays. And when people say they don't understand AEW, I'm like, it's wrestling. It's wrestling. It's not hard to understand. Seriously. It's wrestling. Yes, no, they don't spoon feed you exactly like WWE, but that doesn't mean it's still not pablum and easily digestible. It is. I watch the shows. Like I said, I'm not saying they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but the wrestling is generally good. And even when big things don't happen, like because of Saturday, I have to watch Rampage. I don't mind it, but nothing ever groundbreaking happens on it. But it's always some solid matches. I can imagine just coming home, want to unwind, watch a little wrestling and relax. It's fine. Yeah, I'm doing a bonus show. My wife is working late. I got all my chores done, and I got nothing else to do. And Sika passed away, so I figured we'd just talk about some stuff. I got nothing planned. I've just been kind of talking about Sika, and I talked about my friend Bradley Craig, and talked about Mark Flitman, how great his book is, and ratings. Talking about wrestling now, how it's a universal language. It's not hard to understand. And I feel like these people aren't actually watching the shows. And look, I get it. It doesn't have WWE ratings. And that's the expectation. And I don't know that that's a real expectation. That's a fair expectation. But even if it is, people will say, oh, you got to do this and you got to do that. And I'm like, there's no evidence that these things are going to work. So, why not? Oh, it was my pleasure. I will do one every Christmas, every New Year's, every Hanukkah, every leap year, every Haley's Comet, whatever you want, man. You just tell me. I can do whatever I want. Whatever's in my schedule, I can do it for you. If I can fit in my schedule, I will do it for you. If I watch Ray Phoenix, if you watch Ray Phoenix and don't like, yeah, Ray Phoenix is amazing. Why are they not? That is a frustration with AEW. Market the shit out of the Lucha Brothers. The Lucha Brothers, I know they've been there a while, but my God, they're great. You know, look what they're doing with Okada. They gave him a catchphrase. Okay, Okada. Do you people not watch New Japan? Did you not see Okada in Chaos? Newsflash, Okada, the real Okada, is a dork. And then he gets serious at Wrestle Kingdom for performances. But if you see him in Chaos or like on a house show doing a 6-man tag, dude is a dork. He's got a silly side. That is Okada. What you're seeing right now, that's Okada. You just didn't know. That's what I'm saying. I had a roommate laugh at me once because I asked him to be quiet so I could hear Japanese commentary. That's funny. You're right. The emotion on Japanese commentary is incredible. It's great. You love it. I love the Lucha Libre, the Lucha commentary. I love it when it's not in English, Spanish. I love it. Absolutely love it. For that reason. Bradley Craig. Some could argue that modern wrestlers and their promotions are now trying more than ever to please their customers ever before. Yes, 100%. Compared to previous eras when the aim was to do the minimum amount and trick the marks. Performance is now seen as an art by wrestlers. Can you top this for better, for worse? But the fans are split now. I'd rather have that than hours of squash matches. 100%. You have guys who want to be wrestlers, who grew up idolizing wrestlers, who again are trying to do the best they can. Yes, wait till Okada Balloon Okada shows up. Exactly. My point encapsulated beautifully. Thank you, Don. You should have this show. Not me just babbling away. But no, that's exactly right. Wrestlers are not trying to fool the marks. They're trying to put on, generally speaking, a good show. Now, there's a way to put on a show. And it can make sense to build toward a main event where you go all out and don't spend all of your capital until that main event. That certainly can be a way to build a show. Not the only way. There's more than one way to do that. But that can be a way to do it. That's a traditional way to do it and a fine way to do it, where you put everything, all the eggs, in the main event basket. And that's totally fine and totally cool. But it's just, I feel like these people don't actually watch. I feel like they listen to these podcasts, and the podcasts can be very entertaining. There's some very good hosts, but it's for show. And then you're like, oh, well, I wouldn't want to listen to this show, watch that show, because, nobody likes the Young Bucks. Well, then why'd all those people buy their goddamn shoes? Everybody hates Tony Khan. I don't hate Tony Khan. I'm not saying I love the guy. I think people take it the wrong way, but I don't hate the guy by any means. And besides, Tony Khan, with the exception of driving the other day on TV, he's been off TV for what, months now? Months! And people don't care. People don't care. Yeah. I think AEW, speaking of wrestling games, I think AEW lost a lot of goodwill with that wrestling game. I don't know what the hell happened there. I haven't watched Marigold lately. I just got back from my birthday trip, so I've not seen anything. I saw the title belts. That was interesting. And some of the stuff they're doing. Yeah, Marigold, of course, is going to be great. Rossi knows what he's doing. I would argue, he should have been Booker of the Year one year. The guy is right as right now. My friend Fumi Saito, who's good friends with Rossi, denies everything Kenny Omega said. I don't know what's going on. I don't pretend that I do. I will trust Fumi and believe Fumi. When I was around the wrestlers, and I've been backstage a couple of, 5 times, something like that at Stardom shows. I traveled with them in New York. I have seen nothing suspicious. But who am I? Are they going to do anything suspicious around me? I doubt it. But I'm just saying, for the record, I saw nothing like that. It just seemed like a troupe of young women who all got together and worked together and worked as a unit. So that's all I know. Anyway, my in-laws are calling again. No, I don't think I'm going to be, with my voice, I don't think I'm ever calling another wrestling show again. I think my days of wrestling calling is over. I would have loved to have done more, but to be fair, someone else should do it. I don't, I get that with The Observer, people know my story and they're sympathetic to it and they're understanding of what I have to work with vocally. But to a broader audience, that would not be appealing and would not help the company. And I don't want to do that. So, yeah, I don't know. I understand people have said that for a long time, the calling him a pimp or whatever, but I have never heard, you know, I've heard those type of things, but I've never heard anything factual with a specific talent or a specific incident. I've just only heard general accusations. So that's all I know. If I knew something, I'd damn well be on it. Regardless of that he's Fumi's friend, I would be upset and on it. I don't hold back on that for anybody. So understand that. If things change, so will my opinion. I promise you that. Not a Marigold, but Stardom. I think it's very compelling that they are doing a match where it's going to be either Oedo Tai or Queen's Quest that disappears forever. That's a big deal. That's, in the world of Stardom, those are incredible stakes. That's very compelling booking. And for Stardom, they can build something out of the ashes of whichever unit disappears. Stardom does that. And I wish there were more things like that in United States wrestling, where losing, you could rebuild then, and you tell that redemption story. You disappear, you come back, you learn to hold, or you got a new look, or whatever. There's never, losing is bad. You're a loser then, and you're always a loser. There's never that redemption story. They just announced Mox Claudio Yuta, Titan Shingo Hiromu. See? Now that's a match. That's what I want to see. So I'm guessing Shingo is going to do something amazing because they got to build up Shingo for the Owen Hart. So I'm guessing that's what it is. But still, Hiromu, Dynamite, that guy should have a singles match. But he'll be sort of like the male Mina Shirakawa. Oh, by the way, Brian Alvarez, I love you, but I was right. Saying Mina Shirakawa not into that. The best story. Rose Gold, best tag team. One of the best stories last year. And it carried over to Dynamite and AEW. It's awesome. It was awesome. You just didn't know. Weren't paying attention. These criticisms are from people who aren't paying attention. Love Brian, but he was wrong on that. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kyle O'Reilly. It's like a Spider-Man match. They're both pointing at each other. Because they're like one on each side. That's going to be great. That's a funny line. Hope there's a match where whoever wins House of Torture disappears forever. You know who would win? The fans. I don't know. I don't. I guess House of Torture are over as like heels in like New Japan, but it's like I get that, American fans watch New Japan for work rate. Oh, crap. You know what happened? Sorry about that. Okay. Sorry about that. I opened up the Observer. The site is, I don't know what they did to it. It like has like all this shit in it now. It runs like crap. You didn't hear me say that. Oh. Naito says if he loses to Mox on Sunday, he'll offer Mox his G1 spot. You know what? They should do that. Just because Naito's in such bad shape. Naito, love Naito. He's still a star. But, dude, don't put him in that G1. That'll be... the last thing he needs to be is in a G1. Just put Mox in the G1 or give him some sort of out, and then he can win the title later. He can still be champion, but it's like he does not. But I don't know. But it sure seems like he's going to be in the G1. No Yano, no buys. I agree. Toru Yano, what a genius. That match with Mox in the G1 that Mox lost. Remember, Mox was super hot, and obviously he couldn't win the G1. They had to do something. And nobody expected that. And it didn't hurt Mox, and it was brilliant. It helped Toru Yano. It was very memorable. Oh my God, it was great. It's been great. Yeah, it's great. I don't know. Maybe they have something planned. Maybe they'll hear this and see this. And yeah, you could tell Mox loved it. Dude, I love Mox. I don't care. Everybody, oh, he looks like the plumber and blah, 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 blah. Mox loves this shit. Mox lives for this shit. Mox loves going out there, and it's infectious. Dude, Mox came to Defy when I was still doing stuff with Defy. I'm not doing stuff right now, but when I was doing stuff at Defy, Mox came in the first time. That dude, he puts on headphones. He's got like a Walkman or something. He puts on headphones and he listens to this loud ass, like 90s. I remember his Blink 182, but some shit like that. And he's just fucking getting psyched up, and he's like starting to pace. And he's like, as he gets closer to the match, he's pacing faster. And he's doing a couple of push-ups drops down, does some push-ups on the floor. He's just getting psyched up. And by the time it's time for his match, dude is just, he's ready to go. He hits that freaking ring, and he's just, boom. He is energy and ready to give his all. And that's what, dude lives for this shit. And that's why everybody should love Mox. Mox is awesome. Yeah, I'll like beat Yano clean, I know. Yeah, Yano is brilliant. He should come to AEW and do some stuff. Oh, my cat's here. My cat's gonna bite me again, aren't you? So, just give me love nips. Brad Craig, isn't it amazing how there's infinitely more new audio content, such as podcasts, the internet era, than there was from the golden age of radio? Imagine how amazing it would have been to have guys like Fez, Rogers, Gotcha, even Hackenspitch talk about their experiences for the preservation of it. It's true. You know, I ain't got to interview Lou Thez. And Lou Thez has talked about stuff, and he wrote his book Hooker. So we're lucky to have that, because he's the connection to, well, at least Evan Strangler Lewis, or Ed Strangler Lewis, I should say. Not Evan, the original's Evan. I always get that backwards. But anyway, yeah, Bloodsport. Think about this. Mox is a millionaire. Mox has got money. Mox has got a beautiful wife, a beautiful daughter. He doesn't need to go to Japan and do a work shoot with Josh Barnett and bleed and, do all that shit in Japan. He does it because he loves it. Yeah. No one can test the guy's work ethic. That dude, Dean Ambrose. You look at Dean Ambrose. WWE, the land of the giants. John Cena, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar. Just these guys who are 6'5", they're wide, cobras, these huge backs. And there's Dean Ambrose, 6'1"-ish, 235 maybe. Not in bad shape, but in the land of the giants, Dean Ambrose was a mere mortal. And you look at Roman Reigns, and you look at Seth Rollins, and you could tell WWE had plans. Sort of like the Freebirds. Terry Gordy, the big star wrestler. Michael Hayes, a mouthpiece. Buddy Roberts was to eat pins. I think, in my opinion, Dean Ambrose was supposed to be the Buddy Roberts. He was going to eat the pins. Obviously, Roman Reigns was the protected one, the one they always had plans for. Seth Rollins, they liked, they reprogrammed him, they brought him up through their system. After reprogramming. And once he got their system, he was a guy, not one of the guys, but he was a guy. So Dean Ambrose was third on the list, is what I'm saying. And Dean Ambrose, through his presentation and his acting ability and charisma and emoting, was able to become a very talented, but I think when it comes to WWE, an unlikely WWE champion. And don't get me wrong, he deserved it and earned it. And he did great. But when you look at what WWE values and likes, he doesn't check a lot of their boxes. He had to win them over. Yeah, doesn't have great hair. It didn't have a great hairline. Not massive, but great delivery, great passion. And that's what made him. Granted, they fed him to Brock and did all those things to him. He was still never the guy, but he shouldn't have gone as far as he did. And that's to his credit. But you listen to his audiobook. Dude loves wrestling, lives wrestling. He's a cool cat. Moxley is cool as hell in my book. He's cool as hell. And people who don't like him, I don't think they watch the product. That's what I believe. I don't think people who don't like him watch the product. They get their opinions from other people. That's my opinion. So, there you go. Well, Buddy was great. Buddy was the worker of the group. But he was the guy that you got to pin to start the feud with the Freebirds. And that's fine. He was bulletproof. You could do that to him because he could get his win back or get a win in a 6-man tag or Terry Gordy could help him or whatever. It was no big deal. But you got to have that person if you have a group like that, you need that person. They're important. He was TV champion, perfect UWF TV champion, and set up Savannah Jack beautifully to win the title and try to create, a new African-American star. And Savannah Jack was fun. I liked him. He didn't have great size, but he had some good charisma and, the hat, the colorful tights and good interview, pretty good interview. Not bad. Maybe just kind of lacking size, but no one. If they thought he was going to replace JYD, that's just silly. But he could certainly be a solid addition to any cards a babyface people could cheer for. Absolutely, absolutely. Anything else we should talk about? Anything that people are talking about on X Twitter that I haven't talked about? Anything exciting? Let's see here. So here's some comments about Offense Sika from Twitter. This person says, "Man, I'm still getting chills thinking about the Wild Samoans back in the day. Those guys were unstoppable. And you're right, it's amazing how far the Anawai family has come since then. From Offense Sika, Rikishi Umaga, and now Roman Reigns. It's like they've got a never end." I'm guessing like a never-ending story. He probably was going to go on to add. Yeah. They made a legacy out of being too tough for the wrestlers to handle in an era where wrestlers had to be tough in order to survive and thrive, and created a legacy that lives on 45 years later. So far. It's remarkable. Good for them. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's those guys were amazing. They did some remarkable things, and it's just cool. It's cool that a dynasty can come from anywhere. They didn't have to be singles wrestlers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not diminishing them at all. I'm just saying people would think a lot of times that you've got to be a great singles wrestler to spawn a great singles wrestler. And that's obviously not the case. They were some bad dudes back then, rest in power. Former Mid-South Tag Team Champions in Louisiana. Someone says, can you blame them? Those guys were monsters, not smart to the business. It's true. But it's just funny how just anything could happen like that. And good for them. And, who's to say what comes next? Who's to say what'll happen next? But 79 years. And, 50 some years ago, 50 years ago, ish, it all began. And that's just, it's remarkable. It's cool as hell. It's cool. And it's crazy to think I lived and saw the vast majority of it. Insanity. Tony Richards says, I always hope we get the Wild Samoans in ICW Kentucky. Late 70s, early. We got Tio and Tapu, yeah. Yeah, Tio and Tapu were, I just thought they were kind of boring. They were kind of, they were smaller. I didn't think they were very spectacular. The Samoans, I first remember seeing the Samoans. I did not see them in Portland. Or I don't recall seeing them in Portland, I should say, but I don't think I did see them. Just take a look here. Hang on one second. Let me take a look. Hang on. Keep the Portland Wrestling Encyclopedia right here. Hang on. Let's take a look. Probably under S. What do you think? Oh, good. Could be off in Sika too. What is this? I don't know. How does this work? Oh, there we go. There's Alpha. There we go. 213. There we go. Let's see what we got here. All right. There it is. Alpha and Sika on Hawaii. Right there. Portland Sports Arena Activity, 1973. So it's very early. There it is, yeah. Legend has it they would interfere or attack wrestlers in the Bay Area while they were fans. Peter Maivia would help smarten them up and train them. Alpha got into business a little before Sika in Tucson with some training by Kurt von Steiger, another Portland legend. Alpha is credited with training Sika along with Kurt von Steiger. One of the early territories was Vancouver. They held the tag titles there. And then they made a few shots to Portland. They returned to Vancouver in 76, make appearances in Portland, going undefeated November and December. However, they never got into main events since they were borrowed from Vancouver. So yeah, 76. So yeah, if I saw them, I don't recall. But it sounds like they were just very briefly in Portland, mainly in Vancouver, British Columbia. So no, I probably did not see them in Portland. My first memory of them was 79 when they came in, maybe 80, early 80. It was, you know what it was? I take it back. It was 1980. It was early January 1980, their first Madison Square Garden show. That's what it was. I got the year wrong. My apologies. And it was on the USA Network. And back then, it was like you would just catch wrestling on. I didn't know what was coming on. It's like, oh, wrestling's on. And they would show the Madison Square Garden shows in their entirety. And just, here's the show. And yeah, so I remember that was the first time I saw Alpha and Sika. And there were some friends in the neighborhood who was like, what's up with those guys? And they were just blown away because they played their role so well. They seemed so fierce and so intimidating and just impervious. You know, they just seemed like destruction machines. Yeah. And Curtis Ikea, great mouthpiece for Sika and Kamala. Yeah. WWF in the late 1980s. Yeah, I forgot about. That's right. King Curtis was a mouthpiece for him. They call him the Wizard. I think they did. But yeah, and they were sort of, by that time, Kamala had kind of played his role and lost to Hulk Hogan. They were sort of by this time like low level. They were even a tag team for a while. I remember that. But I mean, Alpha had been around for a long time. He'd been getting older. So I mean, it wasn't unusual, you know, with WWF. The longer you were in the WWF, the more you sort of got phased down, the more you lost. And he was just sort of that low level monster heel is the role he played once Alpha left. But it's remarkable. Good for them. And I'm glad, you know, they've had ups and downs, as I mentioned. And, you know, they wrote it out. You know, what a tremendous legacy. And it's sad he's gone. I'm very sad for his family, but you've got to be, you know, happy for all he's accomplished, all he saw, you know, all he saw for his family, you know, the wealth, you know, the generational wealth, the security, you know, to be, you know, one of the key stars in the biggest wrestling company, to have that kind of trust. I mean, WWE doesn't give that kind of trust to anybody, as you've seen. So, I mean, they're not just family, they're family. So, King Curtis had the last laugh in the Dungeon of Doom. I think they got over on us because we were laughing about that. If you like the Dungeon of Doom, you were 5. Here's, by the way, according to Wikipedia, here are the championships they won. The Continental, they won the AWA Southern Tag Team titles 1 time. They won the Gulf Coast Tag Team Champions 2 times. I think for a while they lived in Pensacola. Georgia National Tag Team titles, talked about that. They vacated the titles, and Ole Anderson buried them on television. So they have the Georgia National titles 1 time. The IWA, International World Enterprise, IWE, World Tag Team Champion. I'm not sure who that is. Is that the Japanese? Is that the IWA in Japan? Is that what that is? Okay, it's that. There's so many of them. I just want to make sure. Or is it the Puerto Rican one? I'm not sure. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. Mid-South Tag Team Champions 3 times. All-Star, that's the NWA Canadian Tag Teams. That's in Vancouver. They only won those once, surprisingly. NWA Detroit, the World Tag Team Champions, Detroit version 2 times. United States Champions in the Mid-America 1 time. Pro Wrestling Illustrated ranking them 93rd of the 100 best tag teams during the PWI years in 2003. Having not seen that list, I have not seen that list. I have not seen the list. Not going to go through it one by one. However, I would, without a doubt, put them higher than 93. 93 seems very, very, very low. The Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2012, they're probably a member of a number of Hall of Fames. Southeastern Championship Wrestling, NWA Southern Tag Team Champions 2 times. Stampede International Tag Team Champions 2 times. World Wrestling Council Tag Team Champions 1 time in Puerto Rico. And World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions 3 times. And WWE Class of 2007 Hall of Fame. So, very impressive career. Very, very impressive. It says here, during the late 70s, Alpha opened the Wild Samoans Training Center. I didn't know Paul Orndorff was a graduate. Junkyard Dog, Luna Vachon, Michael Hayes, Yokozuna, obviously. Bam Bam Bigelow. Did he do both the Larry Sharp and the Rikishi, obviously. It says Sherry Martel, Virgil. Some of these I'm not aware of. Chris Canyon, I believe I'm aware of that. Batista, I'm aware of that. He did work there with those guys. So there you go. Yeah, all of them. I mean, what an amazing legacy. I mean, good for them. I mean, you can't complain. And don't forget Samu, Alpha's son. Samu is part of the Head Shrinkers, had some singles runs, a great wrestler. Oh yeah, Mickey Rourke for the Wrestler. Yeah. Yeah, Ernie Ladd. They always say, oh, a manager needs to be short. Can't be taller than their charges. I never really thought of it that way. It's like everyone knows the Samoans are badasses. The fact that Ernie Ladd was 6'9" and towered over them never really mattered. It was kind of funny because Ernie Ladd would wear his regular clothes, his seersucker slacks. And then he'd have a Samoan sarong, a colorful sarong tied around his waist with his regular clothes on when he managed the Samoans. But what a tremendous legacy. And so many people know and love, the Wild Samoans. So it's just tremendous. But they were just a force to be reckoned with in the 70s, late 70s and early 80s, I would say, is their peak. That 79 to 83, I would say, is their peak. Really, right before the national expansion was their peak, which is unfortunate, but still, there still is a lot of Wild Samoan footage that you can see and is out there, and you can see and appreciate. So, from a legacy standpoint, from a history standpoint, from their own accomplishments, what a life well lived. So good for them. Anything else we talk about? My wife's not coming home. I've been on for almost 2 hours. But don't tell anybody I've been talking for 2 hours, okay? Don't tell anybody. By the way, Bradley Craig, a lot of people liked your interview. So thank you for that. Even though you should be in bed in Scotland. Speaking of Scotland, Joe Hendry. As you probably know, Joe Hendry made an appearance on NXT. He entered the Battle Royal where any locker room, multiple locker rooms, however they put it, could enter. And he was from TNA. He came out, threatened to throw everybody out, and then was immediately eliminated by everybody in the Battle Royal. A lot of people are upset by that and upset by that booking. It's too early to tell. Right now, I mean, if Joe Hendry continues to get his ass handed to him by NXT talent, then yes, that's some bad booking. But Joe Hendry got promo time yelling at Shawn Michaels backstage. He got the focus of the Battle Royal. He got mic time. He got his song played. He got people chanting his name. He got the, what's Joe Hendry doing here, says treatment. He got the whole shebang. I don't think he's being buried. I think something else. He'll get his revenge on somebody. I don't know who that is, but somebody. But they're still spotlighting him. It wasn't losing a battle royal, being ganged up by everyone in the battle royal and getting thrown out is not a big deal. That happened to Andre the Giant. Whenever Andre the Giant was to lose a battle royal, everybody ganged up on him and they threw him out. And it was like, it took all 20 guys to throw out one Andre the Giant. It took all those guys to throw out Joe Hendry. I don't understand what the big deal is. Sometimes I think people just complain. Really, good for them. Look, I don't know what's going on with TNA. Obviously, there are rumors that there are problems. And that sucks. And I hope they're not true. And I hope TNA continues. I hope the talent there that has jobs continues to have jobs, continues to make money. I hope everyone there, I wish them nothing but continued success. However, if it is the case that things are going south, and that's unfortunate, I hope, Joe Hendry is a quintessential sports entertainer. It's funny, people are now discovering his songs. And obviously, like for example, the Drew song where he does I'm Drew dabba dee dabba die to the Eiffel 64. I'm blue dabba dee from the 2000s. Anyway, that dance hit. He does the I'm Drew. People have discovered that. And obviously, you can't play that without paying royalties. Now maybe, Tony Khan has. Tony Khan's spent a lot of money on the final countdown and shit. But I don't know the WWE wants to do that. Yeah, Eiffel 65, is that what it was? Thank you. 64 and a half. Maybe I was doing it by kilometers. Anyway, a lot of people discovered that you can't do that without paying royalties. So we'll see what Joe Hendry can do. Clearly, he can write original music and original songs. And he can write catchy stuff for an audience. But he is a tremendous sports entertainer. And the only thing is, he's not that big. And I worry about that. You know what else? So I was watching Raw this week. And I couldn't get over how Ludwig Kaiser is taller than Braun Breaker. Now, granted, Breaker's got 20, 30 pounds on Ludwig Kaiser. But if Kaiser decided to put on weight, and I'm not saying he should, but I don't know. Just Braun Breaker's a hell of an athlete. I don't mean to steal someone else's catchphrase, but a superior athlete, a legitimate superior athlete. Easily one of the best athletes in pro wrestling today. The other one is Lash Legend, who is yet to put together the wrestling part, which goes to show how difficult it is to be a wrestler. It's not just athletic. It's not just athleticism. Anyway, Braun Breaker, and in another world, feels like if Braun Breaker was a little bit bigger, he should have killed a tag team guy like Ludwig Kaiser. But Ludwig Kaiser is obviously showing a lot of talent and poise and presence and speaking ability to where obviously they don't want to kill him either, which is interesting. I don't think Braun is 6 foot. Braun might be a worked 6 foot. I don't think, is he 6 foot? He's a very short 6 foot. He's 5'11" and some change, I think, in my opinion. But I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, if Braun Breaker was this guy that they've pegged as the guy, and the future this and the future that, he should be killing Ludwig Kaiser. And he's not. Now, he still could. Maybe they're just stalling because they need time. Maybe. But I feel like in a different world, Braun Breaker would kill Ludwig Kaiser, but I feel like, is Ludwig Kaiser kind of holding his own? I think he is. I feel like he is. Now, Braun Breaker could still break out, but it just doesn't feel like a guarantee right now. Joe Andrew is excellent, but TNA is probably setting itself back with its partnership. I don't know that TNA has a choice. They got to do something. But to go one-on-one with the developmental brand is not ideal, but I don't know if they have a choice. Yeah, Chad Gable, another superior athlete. Interesting. Very interesting, but we shall see. But no question, the future is very bright. There's a lot of great young talent. The future is super bright, and like Bradley said, there's a lot of talent that want to put on shows and put on great matches and do the best promos they can and be the best WWE superstar or sports entertainer or pro wrestler or whatever you want to do. Bo Dallas did cut a great promo. Yeah, I'm glad people are being nice. People who don't like the Bo Dallas stuff, the Wyatt Six. I'm glad they're be nice about it if you don't like it. You don't have to like it. I'm not telling you what to like, but understand there's families that are still processing grief. So be nice. That's all I'm saying. Be gentle. Be gentle. That's all I would do. Letting your top knockout lose to the women's champ, their developmental brand, isn't a great look. Yeah, look, Jordan Grace is doing the right thing. Jordan Grace should go out and ask to lose to Ava, what's her face, The Rock's daughter. I almost called her Ava Braun. Go lose to her. Ask to lose to her. That's smart business. And I'm not kidding. Go ask to lose to Ava Rain. Seriously. Dude, Jordan Grace, she's fine. She'll be fine. Lose to anybody WWE asks. Doesn't matter. Lose to anyone. Lose to Wendy Chu. It doesn't matter. Do whatever they ask. You're fine. You're golden. You got that body that they love. You're set. You're fine. Dude, I would go in there and go, please, can I lose in 2 seconds to Ava Rain? Please. I think that's a good point. Do that. That's smart business right there. And I'm not kidding. Oh. Yeah. It's just eyes on their product and NXT. I don't know. It's much like AEW's, obviously AEW, while still popular and is a top 10 show on cable, it has seen some erosion. It's eroding less than cable TV is eroding, but it's seen some erosion. And I think the erosion of cable makes it seem worse than it is, but it's there. I'm not denying it's there. But what I'm saying is, there's so much competition. It's tough for everybody. Even when you have Okada and Omega. Omega's injured, but you have Mercedes Moné and, MJF and any other, the Young Bucks. I know people hate them, but they're popular, whether you want to admit it or not. 5,000 people bought their expensive shoes, bought Reeboks. I didn't even know people still bought Reebok. They're so old they should be wearing New Balance. Anyway, it's hard when WWE's on fire and is flooding the marketplace with so much content. And I'm sure that's a strategy. It's hard for TNA. It's hard for anybody on a budget to keep up. Look at Mike Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey. He's like pocket-sized Kenny Omega. Take that guy out, boom, great match. Boom, great match. Put him with this person, great match. The guy, he's the Popeil pocket fisherman of wrestling. He's amazing, a dynamic talent. And it's hard to get traction. Josh Alexander, another great talent. There's a lot of talent in TNA, a lot of great talent anywhere. GCW, anywhere. They've carved out an identity, something TNA has never done. So it's hard. Yeah, I don't have a problem with Okada the way it's presented. Anyone who does hasn't watched New Japan. Okada in Chaos, I said this earlier, but we've been on for a while. Okada in Chaos was a dork. Yeah, he goes to Wrestle Kingdom and he's all serious and it's 7-star matches in the Tokyo Dome. But you see him in a 6-man tag with Chaos on a house show, dork. He's not being dramatically different. And to bring him in as a heel is smart. You bring him in as a heel, you build up the relationship with the Young Bucks, you get him over, then you break him off, and he feuds with the Bucks or somebody else. It's wrestling booking 101. It makes perfect sense. Some people have never been exposed to Okada. Maybe they've heard of Okada, but they've never seen him on a regular basis. And no, I think he's fine. And the thing with Bitch, hilarious. Hilarious. Like someone said, it's the new damn. Bradley Craig says, in the future, it'll be interesting to see which collaboration was the healthiest for TNA. Its partnership with foreign promotions, domestic brands, NWA, Global Force, Impact, or WWE, which is the most damaging? Yeah, I mean, they've done it with everybody, haven't they? That will be interesting to see. I don't, you know, it's, I think just time has ran out. Yeah, you like Masha Slamovich as well. So there, I don't know. As far as a partnership, you know, I said this months and months ago, maybe a year ago, and I was right. I said the decline of the yen and the Japanese economy is going to play a role in Japanese wrestling, and it has. And the decline of the yen, I believe, is going to be finally the thing that opens the door for WWE in Japan. And, what happens next? I don't know. I don't know as far as, is Triple H different? Or is this a Trojan horse? I don't know yet. I'm willing to give him the opportunity, but I don't know. Yeah, I miss 2010s New Japan as well. And I miss 90s All Japan. I miss it all. I miss it all. Anyway. Yeah, they did bleed the UK indie scene dry. We shall see. Well, that was Vince. We'll see what Triple H does, but I'll be surprised if it's collaboration. We shall see. But hey, WWE sold out Sumo Palace, so good for them. But I mean, as far as international goes, WWE is looking, New Japan, or not New Japan, the Japan show is a house show. It's not a pay-per-view. So I think it's just part of a tour. I don't believe they received money like a pay-per-view. Leonard says Trips isn't much different from Vince. I'm seeing little booking things that Vince did, which Trips is picking up. Most Drew losing back-to-back PLEs. When you're hot, you can do everything. And when you're not, everybody second guesses everything. And everybody goes, Jeff Jarrett is a better booker. Everybody nitpicks everything. Oh, this guy didn't stand in the center of the ring like a baby face. Oh, we didn't get a video package. This guy didn't do this. Oh, this expedited. And they nitpick everything, which really, it may or may not have actually made a difference. In the end, it may just be because WWE's hot and people only have time for so much product. And WWE is a beautiful product. That's one of the things I want to do. Somebody was talking about production values, and they'd only been watching, I don't know, maybe they went back to 2010 or something. But they were talking about how when WWE, I think, made the jump to HD, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, dude, production value has been the calling card of Vince McMahon's WWE, WWF since the very beginning. Vince spent more money on how it looked. I mean, look, Crockett had the better wrestling. It had the Midnight Express, the Four Horsemen. It had, the Rock and Roll Express. You could go on and on about all the better workers. It had the faster matches. It had the better in-ring action. WWE's always been, until Sean and Brett, a very plodding, punch and kick, brawling, in-ring style. Partially because the rings were so damn hard. But that was just always the style. But it looked pretty. Vince paid to have his TV on, syndication. And it looked better than everybody else's. So if I'm a TV station manager, I don't know what the hell. Just, this one's popular and it looks great. Put that one on. Versus the one that's kind of darkly lit and shot in a gymnasium in Spartanburg or a field house in Spartanburg. Nothing wrong with Spartanburg, by the way. I'm just saying, as far as production values, Vince has always been big on that. And that is a calling card. People like pretty pictures. They like pretty people and pretty pictures. WWF has always been about that. Always been about, and also because Vince spent so much money on it, it made the level of entry that much harder for people. If you want to compete with WWE, you got to look like that. And that's going to take money. And that money burns out, as we've seen for a lot of people, very quickly. So, dude, I'm telling you, WWF, look, I'm not saying it's not a bad product. WWF is a very good product right now. But historically speaking, it was not the better wrestling. But it's always been the better looking wrestling. The better bodies, the outfits, the costumes, the marketing, the branding, all of that stuff, a million times better. And that is really, really sort of the key. But I liked the action. I've always watched for the action and the promos. I liked there was sort of an improv factor to it. But there it is. Yeah. The AWA looked like old men. By the time WWF got hot and AWA was on ESPN, they had too many old guys. Way too many old guys. But that's what Vern wanted. Yeah. The decline of the yen might force new talent through the way, it was forced to, invest in stars. Yeah. New Japan, I don't know what they're waiting on with these young guys. I don't know. But, yeah. NWA kind of was, they look like smoke-filled arenas. That's because people could smoke inside. That's why. But, yeah. But yeah, it's declined. Look, everything goes up and down. Economies go up and down. Mainly down, unless you're rich. But mainly down for the rest of us. It's funny, I've been alive 55 years. I think it's only been a good economy like one time in my life. All the other times, economy's bad. Bunch of bullshit. Anyway, wrestling goes up and down. I think a lot of fans watching right now think WWE's always been hot. And WWE will always be hot. And I'm not predicting anything, but history says it won't always do that. We want your next pick of the ace. Okay? That's interesting. That's not a bad choice. That's a wild card. It's a bit of a wild card. Why not? Why not? Growing up, the NWA got me because I was a kid rooted in reality. Yeah, it was. I guess I read that one, sorry. But yeah, rooted more in reality. Whereas, I hated, Papa Shango. But then again, I was in my 20s. I wasn't a 10-year-old. 10-year-olds bought that stuff. I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. I didn't buy it. I wanted it to seem more, I knew it was fake. I knew it was a show. I knew all of that. But I wanted to be able to have that suspension of disbelief. But, you know, it's so funny to me because people want to go back to this. I'm like, dude, Vince was all about exposing the business. Vince was all about characters. Vince was all about, talk shows, wrestlers doing stupid shit on talk shows, dancing and singing with each other, music videos together, you know, all of the stuff that, the kayfabe era that people hated. And now people are like, oh, go back to that. That's old school. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. It baffles you a lot. They lost the script. Like what baffles you? Where have they lost the script? I'm serious. I'm not picking on you. Let's just what are you talking about? Like where do you think they lost it? Obviously, and don't say CM Punk. CM Punk, you can't do anything about that one. That's no CM Punk. That's a whole nother. That's like trying to manage a mongoose. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. So yeah, I'm not going through. I've gone over Punk a million times. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But I think a lot of the challenge for AEW is the fact that WWE has defined what wrestling looks like, how wrestling's produced, how wrestling is presented, and the expectation. And when it's not done that way, people think it's wrong. And it's not necessarily wrong. Wrestling can be a lot of different things now. It can, wrestling can be, as I said before, it can be, oh, there we go. What I got? Oh. Giving the FT title to Brian Cage. Lose to Mox. Oh. Okay. I see the FTW title as not even a real title. I see it as like Taz's fake title they just sort of have. It's just, I see it as literally a prop. But I don't know. Was there a tag team tournament they forgot? 500 titles and no women's tag team titles. Well, I think, you could say you could say that's not fair and not equitable and you'd like to see it, but I don't know that that's a reason that ratings are bad. Hasn't Danhausen been injured? I don't know. I know they've put Danhausen on TV. I don't know. I feel like I don't know, but this is me. I feel like there's something going on with Danhausen, and I don't know what it is. Was he injured? Is he? I don't know. Is he getting mailbox money? I don't know. Oh, people are jumping on Dave. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, I see. Because Dave thought it'd be down, and it wasn't. Okay, I gotcha. I don't think. Anyway, it probably would have been an even bigger number without the Sandy Cup, though. But anyway, people love to jump on Dave. That's just what they do because they gotta feel better about themselves. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, Dave. I love Dave. Anyway. Yeah. AEW is the spiritual successor to WCW. Yeah. I don't know what. Look, I don't know what's going on in negotiations. Is Tony Khan playing hardball? Is the network, does he have some other sweet deal going on outside? I don't know what's going. I don't know. Are they going to get kicked off? I don't know. I can't imagine a top 10 show, even with wrestling. But I don't know. I don't know. How is that? Is Thanos a punk guy? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the dynamic. I can't intelligently speak to the dynamic of Danhausen. I enjoy the act, sort of like Matt Hardy. I feel like there could be more there. There could be more depth, sort of like a, I don't want to say a Svengoolie, sort of like a horror host, like Elvira or something. There could be a little more meat on the bone. Does that make sense? More than just, there could be, he could be, like I said, sort of like a TV horror host kind of a vibe, where it's like, he says more and does a little more. I feel like he hasn't explored enough of the character. Just like with Matt Hardy, just saying delete and hey, or whatever he did. Yes, whatever. That wasn't enough for me. I felt like you could do more, but I don't know. You could be right on that. If you're, yeah, I feel like he's benching people. I feel like he is benching people that want to go. And look, he should. Look, Vince McMahon fired people during the pandemic. Tony Khan has never fired people. He's let their deals run out, but he's honored his deals. He doesn't have to keep everybody. But I don't know. I just, I feel like if the dude is paying you money, do your freaking job. And I'm not even talking about Tony Khan. If your fucking boss is paying you, do your job. Especially some of these people. They're nobodies. And I'm not talking about Ricky Starks, but I see this thing about Ricky Starks today. It's confirmed Stark to turn down some storyline ideas. One source mentioned that the only reason idea he rejected was a breakup and feud with Big Bill. He was unhappy with this. I'll tell you what. Ricky Starks is one of the most inconsistent wrestlers. He would do a great promo, and then the next week, nothing. He would just up, down, up, down. It's like he'd get in his head that it was great. It's like he'd practice and work and think about things, and then he'd hit it out of the park. And then he'd think he was great. Didn't need to hit out of the park, or didn't need to practice again. And the next promo would suck. It's like, no, you've got to, if you want to be the big star, you've got to be hitting home runs and triples. You've got to get on that base every time. Every time. That's what big stars do. And he didn't. And I think it went to, in my opinion, I think it went to his head. When he was doing stuff at Jericho, I think that's what happened. Like he wasn't practicing. And he's not good enough to not practice yet. He doesn't have enough experience. So, yeah, some of those people, dude is paying you. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Some of these people are not as big as stars as they think they are. And here's the thing, more than ever, it's the platform. You know, Sasha Banks. I'm not saying she's not a big star. She is a big star. She has done incredible work in her career. I take nothing away from her. But out of WWE, there's no question she's lost something. It's the platform. And I think, and it's not just her, no disrespect to Mercedes Moné, you could take anybody out of WWE. It's the platform. I mean, certainly, if Cody left and went back to AEW, would it create a fervor again? Of course it would. But it wouldn't be as big as going the other way. WWE has that platform. It's big stars. It's, it's Logan Paul. It's The Rock. It's Bad Bunny. Those people, anybody could leave WWE and fall into obscurity. Anybody. And that's just a fact. And I'm sure the people there have to know that. And some of these people, what are you thinking? Look, if you can't be a big star in AEW, well, then you know what that means? It is the platform. It's not you. It is the platform. If you think you're going to go WWE and be a big star, you may be right. But if you can't do it in AEW, then it's the platform and not the person. These people, it's like, dude, you're making a ton of dough. You're on TV. You're not working that much. Yeah, you've got to work a hard style, but you're working against people who can work. But it's just, look at Swerve. Swerve lost to people. Swerve got over. And freaking Adam Page. Swerve is a huge talent. And I've been a fan of Swerve before he was in AEW. But that match that they had, that bloody match in Inglewood, I was there. That match made Swerve. That was the thing that put him over the top. That was his Hell in the Cell with Mick Foley. And I couldn't be happier. That guy's a really nice guy. Don't tell anybody. He's a really nice guy. If you were to talk to him, he's a good guy. He talks about his daughter. His face lights up. He's very sweet. Very, very sweet. But yeah, Miro. That guy had one main event with John Cena and thinks he's like amazing because people had made the meme about Rusev Day. Congratulations. It's not like every promo you got in AEW was amazing. It's like if dude is paying you. Wait a second. Did they use my thing? Did someone use my Fightful thing? Did Fightful use me? I think Fightful used me. Because they have an interview with Mark Flitman. That's hilarious. Maybe they called him. I don't know. Anyway, that's funny. Anyway, that's cool. Anyway, Mark Flipman's book, by the way. It's not all fun and games. It's on this special site. It's not on Amazon. It's called like limited edition or something because it's a limited edition book. It even comes with a limited edition certificate. But I got the extra bonus content. I think it's worth the price. It's a great book. It's fascinating, talking about his whole life. It's got a ton of pictures of all the video games and toys and products and stuff that he worked on and some of the things that never made it to market. It's a great interview. If you haven't heard it 2 weeks ago, go back and listen. It's really, really cool. So go back and check it out. It's all fun and games. Get the bonus content because it's got. He's not kidding about extra wrestling content. It's got a lot of wrestling content, Hasbro, NFL Blitz, all kinds of stuff. Game Gear, boxing. Yeah, look at there's wrestling content. There's some wrestling stuff. So it's cool. It's cool as hell. And you will find out about Quang if you listen to the interview. So I don't know. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Dude, look at Big Bill. You know, when I was in California, we ended up going to that pay-per-view Full Gear. And I wasn't planning on it, but Tony invited me to go to the press scrum. And they had Big Bill and Ricky Starks there because they were tag team champions at the time. And I asked Tony, you know, I tried to be nice about it because I think Big Bill's done a great job. But, you know, were you worried? And I forget how I worded it. I didn't mention his name, but it's like, are you worried that being attached to his former tag team partner would affect the perception of Big Bill? He was like, no, I liked Big Bill. You know, Big Bill came in, you know, he was personable. And Big Bill has done great. He looks like $1 million, you know, and the stink of his former tag team partner is long gone. No one even talks about that. So, yeah. It didn't hurt Aunt Page. It didn't hurt him. He can always come back, and he will at some point. Whenever that is, we shall see. But I mean, that's what wrestling is about. Wrestling is about, it's not just about winning and losing. It's about making people. So you have people to work with again. At some point, Hangman Page is going to work with Swerve again. And they're going to make a hell of a lot of money because Swerve is a bigger star now. A lot of that thanks to Adam Page and his unselfishness. That is what wrestling's about. And I'd rather have one Adam Page than 1,000 other, you named them, not me, people who are being prima donnas, who think they're more important than the show, when they're not the guy. It's different when you're the guy. But when you're not the guy, just do your job to the best of your ability. I don't know. It's like these people. I don't know. They don't understand what wrestling's about. You should be happy to try to make somebody and make them a bigger star. So you make more money. Everybody makes money. Adam Page gets it. Swerve got it. Yeah, no kidding. Big Bill looks like $1 million. Speaking of that, I'm curious. You know, the Learning Tree and Big Bill beat Private Party, and they should have the first time out. But we'll see what happens with Private Party. And a lot of people are down on Chris Jericho, and I agree that perhaps, he should take a break. Perhaps he should have. That aside, he's not going to. I don't know that all these people who didn't make it are necessarily Chris's fault. I don't know that they are. Some of these people, I don't know what he did to hold them back. I just think they didn't necessarily have it, or the timing wasn't right. Brian Keith has been great too. Brian Keith they found something for him to do. It's been very good. But I don't know that it's Chris Jericho's fault. I think some of these people just didn't work out. How many times they tried to get Roman Reigns over? And they didn't. Until finally they did. How many times they tried to get Triple H over? Until finally they did. There's the case where that happens. That doesn't necessarily mean Chris Jericho's the bad guy. It could have been circumstance. It could have been timing. They might not have been ready. It could have been anything. So we shall see what happens with Private Party. They've had a rough go of it. One of them was injured. Brother Zay's been single, doing some stuff. And now that is, oh, you like the Chris Jericho thing? I think this learning tree is fun. I just feel like it's a little devalued because some people, because he's been around so long without a break. That said, I think he's done a good job. The high guys he's getting over. I think even some of his critics he's winning him over. Because Jericho's a smart guy. Love him or hate him. He's a smart guy. He lost you and then got you back. Yeah, I think some people are experiencing that. I think so. But there you go. All right, well, I've been on for 2.5 hours. I've talked quite a bit. Unless there's something really amazing you want to discuss, I should probably go. But it was fun. It went much longer. Like I said, I got nothing else to do because my wife is working. Oh wait, real quick. Somebody asked about my second wrestling territory after Portland. You reminded me, Bradley. Let me answer that question real quick. My second territory. I guess it would have had to have been WWF on the USA Network because I saw that first because we got USA in my little town before WTBS. But then I got WTBS, started watching Georgia. But I had seen wrestling magazines too. So I knew of the AWA and Vern Gagne and Nick Bockwinkel. I saw them. And I knew of Mid-Atlantic and the US Championship and Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat and Florida and Harley Race. And so I got all these magazines. Matter of fact, I got this one that was an almanac that was a calendar that had, on this day in history, this happened. And I read that thing 1,000,000 times. That's where I learned about Sandor Cesaro and probably Luthez and so much history. Bill Miller, Gene Kiniski, and the Funks, and all of that stuff. So the magazines, I think, played a lot of role in it. But probably Georgia, WWF. And then I would go visit my brother's fraternity up in Seattle at the University of Washington. And when they were at school, I had the TV room all to myself. So I saw Tomko wrestling. I saw the Portland wrestlers up working up in Vancouver. So I saw Roddy Piper and Rick Martel and the Sheepherders and stuff up in Vancouver. So I think that was it, at least to the best of my memory. And I saw some California on vacation, but not much of it, just a little bit. So that is my memory. Oh, and saw some Lucha Libre. Take it back. Saw Lucha Libre, but you know what was really good on vacation? Roller derby. Roller derby was fun. I never got roller derby really until the very end, but the really good roller derby when it was still with the bombers and stuff I saw that down in San Jose. That was fun. All right, kids, I've talked long enough. This was fun. Thanks for humoring me. I didn't know I could go so long, but I'm glad you enjoyed. Oh yeah, I got to do the Twitch thing. You're holding me to that, aren't you? All right, I'll see what I can do. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you on Saturday.